Welcome to another exciting edition of $1 Million Peddlers. I'm Papergoy.
And I'm Mr-Magazine.
And today we're going to talk about some things that you need to keep a look for out there. Big shout out to Dom. This is the first BOLO video we've put out since we were on Primetime Treasure Hunters show. If you haven't seen that yet, his live show, you can see it in reruns at any point. It was a lot of fun, and I'd like to thank him. And he really is a great guy. He did talk to us for 20 minutes after the show, and I know he was exhausted. And in fact, it was one of those where we kind of were like, okay, because did not want to impose on him at all. He definitely was a great guy, and hopefully he has us on at some point. But hopefully when you watch this over here, you can see some great things that you need as well, and you can make some money as well. So why don't you take it away, Mr. Magazine?
All right, here we go. For those that say Mad magazines are junk,
I say that all the time.
I disagree. I think I got full price for this baby. $23. It's the Indiana Jones. It's a newer one, 2008. Yeah. I think the key was with the poster. And when you're listing any types of magazines that come with a poster, make sure you say they're in there if they are, because you're going to get a premium for them.
See, and that kind of ties in a lot of the Mad magazines, especially a lot of the old like super specials and all that stuff. Right on the cover, it will tell you what's supposed to be in there, whether they're stickers, whether they're this or that.
Sure.
Do check. One of the big problems you'll find with the stickers, as you're well aware, is they stuck together throughout the years. Definitely note that as well, because if you don't, people expect that they are there.
Yeah, two big titles with magazines would be wrestling for sure, and then...
Well, Mad Magazine, obviously.
All right, let's move on. All right, it's football season. We're in Bill's country here, and anything with Josh Allen is hot. He's going to sell. This was a cheaper card. This sold for like $13, but we've had some sold for $50, $100. His rookies are flying through the roof right now. So you can find him anywhere. He's hot as a pistol. The Bills are hot in general. You can do some investment as well, save them for the future. And moving on here, we just spoke about this recently.
Oh, yes, we did.
Taking chances on buying, titles that you don't necessarily may think are good, or people sell them cheap on eBay. And someone brought in like about 100 bonsai magazines. So I gave my employee like a dozen to list, and one sold for $18.
So you're probably going to give him a dozen more to list.
Exactly, and I didn't pay much for them at all. So
well, and that's one of those things that, again, it's a very specialty kind of magazine.
Right, yeah.
Most people haven't heard of it. Most people have no interest in it, et cetera, et cetera. But all it takes is finding the right person and, put them on there, and they will end up selling.
Sure. And that's moving on. It's the holiday season. Movie's coming out in, I think, next year sometime. Real Ghostbusters Vintage Deadmore, $80. And I sold some other pieces to this series too as well, and those are hot. They're mint condition too.
No, it's an action figure, or
yep,
nice.
And I think they even remade them. They look similar, so very cool though. Next we have Danbury Mint Trans Am, larger scale. This didn't even have the original box. It didn't even have the certificate, and I think I took $160 on it.
Do you mind if I get on a soapbox for 1 minute? Do you have a soapbox?
Is there a hill and I can kick you down the hill?
Nice. It always makes me laugh, the concept of a certificate on something like this.
Yeah.
Only because, yes, I'm really going to go and forge, or however they end up making these things, my own and put it out there. Of course it's real.
All right. Baseball cards are hot. We've said before. I picked this up in a gentleman's home. He had hundreds and hundreds of sports cards, and I didn't look through them all. It was such a good deal. I just bought them. Basically, I saw about 20% of it, said it's a good enough deal, I'm taking it all. This was hiding out. Anything Topps, they made a Tiffany series, which is limited edition, glossy, still sealed. It's an update set. Went for $163.
Now, is there anybody good in that?
Not really.
Okay.
Not really anyone stand out. No,
I mean, they're all better than we are.
No, because the regular set's $10, and there's no one good in it. So this one went for $160. We have some other ones. If you find the full sets, they go for thousands of dollars now. And then I also picked up a huge Hot Wheels collection. A gentleman approached me. His buddy passed away, and he was selling it for the wife. And he had 40 tubs of Hot Wheels, over 5,000 cars, and he was part of the club. So a lot of rare exclusives, club pieces, and this sold within a week for $180 for one car alone. The Real Rider series, so it's another exclusive one. But anything from that series is good. This was a rare truck version of it. Very cool. And lastly,
Hey, I've seen this before somewhere.
absolutely, Primetime Treasure Hunters, a live show. He was talking about this, and I don't think it had sold at this point. I think it had the $1,000 minimum bid at that.
Oh.
And, it ended up selling for $2,050, and I made some. I paid good money for it, but I also made a decent buck. And anything He-Man, vintage, even new, unopened or graded, is hot as a pistol. So if you find anything like that out there, even with this loose, if this figure was loose, it could be $500 to $1,000. So.
Well, I probably should just go home now because I think you had everything together I have here and multiply it by about 20, and I might equal that. But it's the way things go. The first one over here is from an estate, and we've got a couple of subscribers that will recognize the estate this was from. We did a video about it, the Scotty Dog Hall. There was a local collector. They had 3 or 4 different estate sales out there. I picked this up out there, so no big deal, but I don't really do a lot in postcards to start with. But they had a pile of postcards, and I think they wanted $1 a piece regular, and so it was half price. And I took all of the ones with Scotty Dogs on them, just figuring that I'm listening to a lot of Scotty Dog stuff. Things will sell. Sure enough, this did end up selling, so kind of doing this over here for the subscribers who actually know the sale that I went to. Kind of neat when you follow something from when it's purchased to when it sells. The next thing we have over here ties into another video we have up.
Oh, yeah.
And if you haven't seen the video, check it out. It may not have posted yet, but it's in how I was able to list a lot of Japanese books. Not going to give away the secrets. You got to watch the video, but trust me, I don't read Japanese. But as I noted in there, I paid 15 cents a book on average, and 3 books went for $34. You paid full price on them, so
Nice.
Can't argue with that over there. It kind of made the work worthwhile that I did on it. Next up over here, I'm Papergoy. I'm not Cotton Goy, but I was out at an estate sale, and it was actually a very, very good estate sale. There was a lot of things out there. The only problem with the estate sale is they didn't have anything priced, and it was one of those, you brought stuff up, and pretty much everything the guy was like, I think it's about. Well, I saw this sitting off in a closet, and again, I don't usually do knitting cotton, but it was a in box from back there. I could tell it was older. Obviously, I hadn't any knowledge that it was 1910s.
Very cool.
But what gave me the idea on the date was there were 3 brochures in it, all the same from Dexter on how to make things for the war, World War I. And I said, well, people tend to usually put things on top of boxes around the same era. So I listed this as 1910s. I took a $90 offer on it. Happy to see it go. The nice thing is I paid $10 for it, and I got, I think, around $20 each out of 3 brochures that were just sitting in there that nobody knew were in there. So it worked out to be a really good deal. And I guess what I'm telling you is if you see something old in box, take a chance on it. I could find nothing whatsoever, so that $125 price I was originally asking seemed as good a price as any to put on it.
Sure.
Next thing we have over here, the Harley Allendale Columbia HAC school jacket. I believe it's 1950s. It's a local school of some renown and very, very small class size, et cetera, et cetera. Now suddenly going to an advertisement for the school. Great school, though. But this was over in a house, and it just caught my eye when I was looking at it. And I think that it was... Actually, now that I think about it, it was fill a bag with clothes for $10. And I saw this over there, and the guy was my size. So put a lot of clothes in there.
Small guy, yeah.
Put a lot of clothes in there that I use myself, and put this in as well. Person paid full price on it. Very, very happy to have the sale on something like that. But again, something completely outside of what I usually sell. I just had seen the letters on it. I didn't even know it was Harley Allendale Columbia until I got home and started doing some research on it and was able to place what school it was. So not necessarily easy money because there was some research involved, but nice thing to have sell, and basically took the shirts free. Can't argue with that.
Nice.
Next thing we have over here. Now here's another interesting one. Things to come. If you remember when we were on Primetime Treasure Hunters channel, I mentioned that I had sold a record club book or booklet telling. This is essentially the same thing, except a little bit earlier, but it's for the Sci-Fi Book Club. And the guy paid $20, and he ended up buying a couple of more from it. So when you do have those circulars advertising, people do collect them for whatever reason, whether they collect them for themselves, whether they perhaps this gentleman is a big collector of Stephen Donaldson, whoever's on the cover. Maybe he's collecting it for the cover art. I can't say why he's buying it, but he did. But here's the interesting thing about this. I picked these up at an auction, and the other person at the auction had won some the week before, apparently, because the auctioneer had mentioned, hey, I have more of these. And kind of piqued my curiosity because I thought they were kind of interesting. So I ended up outbidding this other gentleman, and I won them. Then I did a little bit of search and found where he sells them at on eBay. He sells these on eBay. He gets $9, $5 plus $4 shipping.
Jeez.
Don't be afraid to ask price on them. There are no more of these on eBay. There aren't. Nobody else was offering the November 1977 Things to Come book club circular. Nobody else was. I was the only one on there, and I got price. If I had priced it at $9 like the other gentleman, granted he didn't have November 77, but whatever ones he has, I would have gotten $9 out of it. So don't be afraid to ask price on things if they're difficult to find. Next one we have up over here. Didn't go for a lot, $13, but you can find these things all the time. Anything having to do with subways, whether it's the underground in London, whether it's the subway system in Hong Kong, whether it's New York subways, they always sell, and everybody always has them. Anybody that went to London took the underground. They have a brochure from it. They probably brought it home. When they're selling their things off in their estate, you can get it just as a throw-in and some other stuff. $13 is a nice little addition to a deal that you were going to make anyway. Next thing we have here, and this just kind of shows, this is something or other that I never, ever, ever would have been able to sell without eBay. And we did the video where we talked about how great eBay is because of the opportunities it gives us. And this is a perfect example of it. Now, I did take a lot of pictures because I showed every team in here. Pop Warner football.
Nice.
Now, there's nobody that I'm aware of that was famous in there or anything, but it's 1978 Laconia, if I'm saying that right, New Hampshire. Took a picture of every single team in there. Somebody obviously was in there, wants to give it as a gift. Maybe they're their father. Who knows what the case happens to be. $32. And again, where did I get that price? Seemed like a reasonable price on something that, although not one of a kind, probably the only one for offer in the marketplace today. So $32 seemed like a reasonable price on it, and that is indeed what they paid. And I'm sure somebody's getting a gift that they'll sit around Christmas or, virtually over Christmas, however they're doing Christmas this year, and they'll talk about it, and, the father will say, oh, Jimmy, I haven't talked to him in a while. And so it'll be kind of an interesting gift for somebody, and glad that somebody bought it. Another thing over here, I'm into selling high school fanzines, basically. It's a literary magazine for high school. The neat thing about this, Ray Bradbury actually did an interview with the high school.
Oh, wow.
So one of the students called Ray Bradbury. Believe it or not, I had 2 of these.
Nice. The only 2 in existence, probably, at this point.
At this point. I put one up at $30, something like that, and somebody offered me $50 when it was up for auction, and I took it.
Nice.
Because I knew I had the other one. I put the other one up, and it got a bid on it. So quite happy with that over there. Cool. And the funny thing is I raised my price from $30 up to $50 because of the offer, and it ended up selling for $50. And, one bid and all that sort of thing. But quite happy about that. But you never know what you're going to find in these little high school things. I mean, who would have thought that Ray Bradbury was in a high school thing? And finally, another thing over here, and I know we've talked about it before, and you can't afford to have your employees necessarily go through every page of everything.
Right.
I can do it myself over here. E.F. Hutton, when they talk, people listen. It's kind of, they put out a quarterly little thing telling about, the company and what they were selling, and then they had a couple of little articles in it. literally a one-page article in there about Secretariat going out to stud. Now, I took a picture of it, put it up. I didn't know what to charge on it, so I threw $30 on it. It did get a bid. It sold. If I hadn't taken the time to do that and I just listed it for the company, I did a search on there. They don't sell. People have some listed. They don't sell, generally speaking. But because I found something in it to highlight, took the extra picture on it, ended up getting $32 out of it. I'm very, very happy with that sale. And again, if you have the ability to do so like I have, go through it. You know, you probably wouldn't even give it to the people to list because it's not anything special whatsoever. But kind of work within what you have. But if you do see something like that, highlight it, put the pictures up, and you'll be surprised at what it goes for. And I think kind of what we've learned today from all these various sales, don't be afraid to ask price.
Right.
Do your research. If it's a common item, you can't ask price on it because they can get it anywhere else. But if it's a rare item or a difficult item to find, years ago I would have been asking $12 on this. Now I'm asking $32 and getting it because there's none of them out there. And that's what it comes down to. Do not be afraid to ask price. So hopefully that helps you some. Hopefully you saw some neat things in there. And we'll see you next video.
Take care. Bye.
Wanna be